Hello, this is Holgas. I just wanted to make a sort of a quick tutorial on how to make sprites for Pokemon Infinite Fusion. So I am a little sick at the moment, so do pardon my voice is even worse than usual. But some people have asked me how to make sprites for Infinite Fusion. I'm going to assume you have a tiny bit of knowledge about how pixel art works because I'm not going to teach you how to do it entirely from scratch. But this is sort of a basic semi-beginner tutorial on how to make pretty simple splices for Infinite Fusion. Do pardon the strange resolution here. I have double windows here. I'll just very quickly move over to my other window, which you can see here. I will go back to that later. So Infinite Fusion sprites are made on a 96 by 96 canvas and then sized up to 288 by 288. Now, let me just very quickly explain one of the more common errors is not working in 96 by 96 first. Why would you need to do this? Well, because a pixel is a defined single unit. So let's see, I have my work in progress Slackoth here. Slackoth, I should say. And I'm making it here in 96 by 96. If I size it up to the in-game size, you can see now that all of the pixels are 3 by 3. So if you make any edits at this size, it's not going to look great because it's not in alignment with the regular pixel size. So yes, it is highly recommended to first work in 96 by 96 and then size it up to 288 by 288. Now I am working in a sprite here, or as a sprite as I used to say, which is a premium program, but all of the features available in a sprite should be available in your usual pixel art program or art program, unless you're using Microsoft Paint, in which case I'm sorry. So we'll start with a new 96 by 96 canvas, and I'm going to pull in the sprites that I'm using. So, as seen earlier, I'm on the Pokémon DB website. If you go to pokemondb.net/sprites, you'll be able to view the sprites of all of the Pokemon. There's a quick table here, but if you scroll down, you'll get all of the variant sprites for each, which is useful if you want some more interesting poses. So we're doing Fluffy X Vigoroth. So I think I'll choose this one. It's closer to Vigoroth's usual size. And I think for Fluffy, I'm gonna go with this Gen 4 sprite because it's very similar to the size and the pose for Vigoroth. So I'm just going to move over to a sprite and paste my sprites into my canvas. I'm doing the body first because that's what I'm mainly going to use, and then I'm going to duplicate it just so I have an extra copy. And I don't usually rename my layers, but for readability here, I'm going to rename this. And then we'll create another layer and put in our Fluffy. Actually, I've changed my mind. I'm going to use the Heart Gold Soul Silver sprite because the tilt of the head is similar to Vigoroth's pose here. We are using both Gen 4 sprites, so hopefully there won't be too much color difference here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is figure out the colors. The head part of the fusion is the base of the colors. So have a think about what parts of each sprite, color-wise, you want to move onto your body. So because Fluffy is pink, we're just going to move the pink colors onto Vigoroth and then figure out the rest of it. So I'm going to select Vigoroth here and do a color replace on each of his colors, moving from lightest to darkest. Now, depending on your sprite, oops, I've just selected the wrong one, go back. Depending on your sprite, you may need to experiment a little bit with these shades because some of them are a bit dark. Like most of Vigoroth's body is in shadow, so it's going to be a darker pink than Fluffy is. Usually these sprites have 2 to 4, mostly 3 shades of a particular color. There's the base, the highlight, and the shadow, and then there's a dark outline color. Some sprites don't have all of this, like the black parts. There's only 2 shades. You see that a lot, particularly in the black colors. So that's a little bit more difficult to work with, but you could always add extra shades if need be. Now I'm replacing that colored outline I mentioned. Wow, Vigoroth sure has a lot of shades. That's okay, we can replace some of these other colors. Just eyeballing this here. Okay, so we did lose a few shades, particularly on the claws, but that's fine because Fluffy doesn't have claws. We're going to be removing those. Now, we haven't replaced the browns yet, but those are going to be removed, so I'm not bothered with them, honestly. I'll just delete that. This sure is a strange looking palette. It might be better to remove the main highlight. Move that down. Shade. Yep, that looks much better. So you can just play around with colors like this. You might have to remove some shades. Okay, so now we've just got to experiment with this. I'm going to have to add some more highlighting here because it is looking a bit bland. And where you've got some highlights, you can sub in some lighter colors. I'm going to use this shade because that's what Fluffy has. To add a little bit more oomph. Okay, so now we're going to start our splicing. I think I'll just comp the head on. But I'll probably have to if it doesn't look that great. I'm going to recolor this bit because I think it looks good as part of the fluff. Okay, that doesn't look so good, so I'm gonna have to redo this so that it looks more in line with Vigorot's head. I'll have to do that later. It does look pretty terrible. You could always add in parts from other sprites and recolor them. I'm looking at the Generation 2 sprite, which is much closer to what we're going for, but I don't think anyone's recolored that. No, nobody has done that yet. I think I'll do it now. So I'm just going to take this Pokemon Crystal sprite. Really freewheeling it today. I'm just going to replace the head. These older sprites have a lot of dithering, so we're going to have to replace that. It's good recoloring practice. Tends to take a while, so I'll probably just fast forward this part. The important thing is to replace the black color, because especially if you're combining generations like this, it's going to be a bit different. And sometimes even within sprites of the same generation, the black outline is going to be different. So when you're replacing, just make sure to replace that. In fact, I'll go back to our sprite now and make sure that they're the same black shade. Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's go back here. And I think I'll just fast forward this part. I'm really just feeling it out here. The light source should always be from the top left, but eventually with practice you get a feel of where all of the shades are supposed to go. You don't necessarily need to follow the base exactly. Like, especially for updating really old sprites like this. You just add in extra shades and the like that weren't in the original sprite, but are in the modern sprite. Okay, I think that's good enough. Let's go back and see. Just checking I was drawing on the correct layer. Looks like I was. So let's move this over and see if it looks any better. It does. Actually, it looks much better. Great, so you can always go back and reference older sprites to get a better pose or a better size if you're not confident in doing it out yourself. Alright, great, so now we have the head. That's looking pretty good actually. I will just add a nostril. There we go, and I think that looks pretty fluffy. Now what I am going to do, the game doesn't do this a whole lot, but I like to. there should be a shadow here. Just a little one where it intersects with the collar. And again, actual Pokemon sprites don't necessarily do this, but I like to. Just where there's an intersection with the body, add a little extra shadow. RIP this bit here, I'm gonna make this a darker shade because it's intersecting. There should be a shadow because it's under the fluff collar. Okay, now this is looking a little bit bare, but there aren't that many shades to go with, so... Oh, you know what? We could use the darker shade because we already moved the shade up one. So we can add some extra shadows in here now. This is kind of a strange shade, so I'll just do this very sparingly here. Just in the parts where I think it needs a little extra. Okay, after a certain part, I like to duplicate our base again, just so we have an extra copy in case something messes up. So Fluffy has small stumpy arms, so we can make these arms a bit shorter. I've only just added the shadow in there, I'm gonna have to do that again, and we'll remove the claws. You want to avoid having a situation like this where there's some lines and then a single pixel jutting out. It just doesn't look good. So if you ever see something that looks like this, just smooth it out a little. I kind of like this spot on the hands. Might keep that, not sure. Again, we're just feeling it out. Right, but I'll see what people say about him feedback phase. Now we're gonna move the shadows over. I think that looks alright. Ideally, Flappy's arms are even stumpier than that. I think that looks a little bit closer to Flappy's arm shape. Oops. I don't want to make them too stumpy because I like the look of this. I'll just add a couple extra shadows. Okay, and now for the feet. Flappy's feet are pretty similar. I'll just remove claws and go from there. Now I'm second guessing the use of the shades. I just don't know. I could go back. Because then it would fit in more with the colored outline shade. That's good enough. I can mess with it later. I don't think we know what the underside of Flappy's paws and feet look like, do we? Flappy's got a bit of a belly. Maybe we can add that back in. Because the fluff doesn't look too great with the collar covering. What less lazy people would do is add all of these colors onto the palette so that instead of eye dropping it each time, they would just reference it to the palette. But I don't do that, sorry. I'm not keen on this. Just go ahead and look at some references. Okay, so this is a hoof. It takes up the entire front portion. At least in the modern models. I kind of like how this looks out of just a toe. It is supposed to take up a little bit more space than this. Still not the biggest fan of how that looks. Maybe I can just remove the sole here. But this base, this red color is just from Vigoroth. It isn't on Flappy at all. So we can remove it or recolor it. Maybe I could make it this gray color instead. Ideally, you usually want to keep all the colors within your reference. Oh, I missed a pixel there. Oopsie poopsie. Alright, so let's replace this red. And see how that goes. Again, it only has 2 shades of black, so I might just scrap this. No, that doesn't look good at all. I'll just remove it. Okay. Now for the tail. I think I'll make my own tail. Because Vigoroth comes out like that. We can't really do that with Fluffy, so. At least with our reference picture here, we'll have to redo it from scratch. I mean, you could just rotate the existing tail, but that's kind of lazy. That said, I do like taking the lazy route sometimes. Is there anything else that I missed? Yes! I accidentally drew that toe on the wrong layer. I'll just cut it from this layer and paste it into the proper layer. Oh yeah, we're gonna add the belly back, weren't we? Let's copy this. I'll just draw on another layer and see how that goes. I might also want to remove the fluff from the chest here. Okay, so that's part of the chest fluff. I'm not sure if I like this or not. It's something, but I don't think it's really what I want. That looks kind of terrible. Yeah, we've gone past it now. No, I don't like it. Sure, there's a better way to do this. I guess I could reshape it in a way. That looks better. Okay. I think I'll make this one a bit beefier too. You don't need to entirely imitate the original, but it helps to have a little bit of extra interesting little bits that make it look less like a copy-paste. Oh, I should probably save this document. But as for what to save it as, go to the infinite fusion calculator and put in what you've got. We're doing fluffy Vigoroth. It's this. That's what you should have your final file named as. Now, Sprite won't allow you to put a dot in a file name, so I usually name it with a dash, and then when I export the final file, then I will rename it. Okay. Let's figure out this tail. So Vigoroth's tail goes down and out. We'll just put another layer. Oh, I already made another layer for this. Great. I'm also thinking that this needs to be more curved. That'll help make it look a bit rounder too. It can be a bit difficult to get this right. It's okay, it's not great. I'll deal with it later, I suppose. Something like that. Then we can just circle tool for the bulb. Now because this is behind the body, it's gonna mostly be in shadow. I think that looks like a good spot. That's looking pretty good if I do say, and now we're just gonna add the outline. Just on the top bit. But I think that's good enough to post. Did I miss anything? No, it looks fine, honestly. Alright, so now we're gonna export it. We're gonna export at 300% and change your file name to a dot if you didn't already. And then that's it. Now your sprite should be ready to go. Just submit it for feedback, and then that's it. So I hope this helped. I didn't script this at all, so I'm sure I missed a bunch of stuff like the fundamentals. But please let me know what you thought, and if you want me to make some more tutorials like this.